Hi, everybody. My name is Jonathan Betzler, and we're back with the No Name Cinema Society. You may remember last week we talked about Focus. This week we're going to talk about Chappie. I'm going to introduce my cohorts now. First over here is Jay Money. How you doing today, Jay Money?
It's good to be back in the saddle.
And Dave Joseph. Thank you for missing wrestling today, Dave Joseph.
Yeah, we keep doing this on Monday, man. It's painful, but I love it. So I'm glad to be here.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both. I want to welcome you both to daylight savings time. It probably doesn't feel as different to you guys, but I can tell you it is still the difference between this week and last week. It is still daylight actually out here. So I'm getting a little extra side light from the side. So that's nice. Good. A couple quick corrections from previous episodes that I wanted to go over. The first one is that in the Oscar episode we talked about J.K. Simmons a lot, and Jay Money, you had mentioned that he was doing Allstate commercials, and then I corrected you saying there were State Farm commercials, when actually I realized this week it was actually Farmers Insurance commercial. And so we were both wrong. I was a little closer with the word farm, and I apologize to Farmers Insurance because they're one of our sponsors, as you know. I'm just kidding. I actually had Farmers Insurance.
You can sue us for that, by the way. You shouldn't lie about that.
Well, actually, Newcastle is one of our sponsors, so so that is, clearly you can tell how high tech it is. The other correction is a little more complicated, and for what it's worth, Jay Money, I didn't go seek this out, but last week in our discussion of Focus, you had you made some comments about you had done some research on who had been cast originally, and you had said it was Ben Affleck and Emma Stone. But what I discovered, and again, I didn't research it, I just happened to come across an article about something Kristen Stewart was doing, and what I discovered was that Ben Affleck and Emma Stone were never paired together. The original cast of Focus was Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone.
Yeah, I'd actually seen that later. I've seen both now. I've basically seen both versions. I guess I'm sure they were all in the mix at some point. I'm not really sure who was what.
They were replaced with Ben Affleck and Kristen Stewart, and I just would hate, like, I want to be, I try to say things from memory all the time, and I hate the idea of. You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
I can hear you. I can't see you. There you go. I see you now.
Okay. I hate the idea of.
No, I don't.
Saying something wrong. So I just wanted to, clear the air. I had one other correction, but I can't remember. I didn't write it down when I came across it. So there's something else in the first two episodes that we said incorrectly that maybe I'll fix next week.
There's plenty.
And Davy Joe, it looks like you're in a new hotel room over there.
Yeah, every week.
Changing locations. All right, so now it's time for us to get started with, we're going to talk about Chappie, so it's time for opening thoughts. Let's start with our boy in his new hotel room, Davy Joe. Opening thoughts on Chappie.
All right, I'm going to say that this is actually two movies. One movie that's just absolutely horrible, and then the last 20 minutes, which are sort of semi-exciting and maybe passable.
All right, I'll ask you more about that a little later because that, it's kind of vague. But let's go to Jay. Opening thought.
Opening thoughts. I think I went into this with a lot of hope and expectation, as I'm sure a lot of people did that had even just seen District 9. Blomkamp, he reaches big. He goes for big ideas. And unfortunately, with this one, his arms were tired apparently, and it was kind of a total miss. It was kind of a total misfire.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that completely. My basic thought is it felt very flawed to me the first, even maybe a little longer the first third. But once I saw he was going, I mean, I think I expected something along the lines of fear of technology type statement. But once I saw where he was going, once I figured it out, I felt a lot better about it, and I actually thought it was a great experience for me. I thought it was really, really strong. It had a handful of flaws that I'm sure we'll go over, but a big net positive for me. All right, Davy Joe, you're going to have to expand on your on your two movie thing, because I don't understand that at all.
All right, so okay, anything pre-Moose, boring. Basically,
Wait, you know what? Can I just interrupt? We should probably give a basic premise to this movie first, just some sort of basic setup, so that when we make references, we know kind of what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, basically, I'll tread lightly here, but Dev Patel plays a worker at a weapons design company, and he designs sort of a police robot. Hugh Jackman plays his coworker that he feels that his robot, the Moose, is better than Dev Patel's robot, the Scout. But so it's really just about and what happens is Dev Patel tries to take his Scout experiment and give him sort of a personality and
oh, we lost
consciousness
him.
that is. You there?
We lost you, man.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I stopped talking. That's why you lost me.
Okay.
But anyway, so he gave one of his robots that had been rejected free will, and that's sort of where it goes from there. Is that enough? Is that enough of a?
Yeah, just so that
what specific you wanted to say?
No, I think that's fine. I just want to give people a quick rundown.
Okay. All right. You interrupted David Joe. So David Joe, take it away.
No.
Go back to what you were saying.
So basically, in the beginning, the movie is it starts off kind of exciting, but I think what really distracted me a lot was how bad I thought Dev Patel was. There was a line, there's a part in the beginning where he's kind of being interviewed by the news, and he gives a line, and he sort of he kind of Captain Kirk'd it a little bit, and I just thought it's just awful, just distractingly bad the way he was, just the facial expressions really
it's a small part of the movie, though, in the grand scheme of things.
No, but you're talking about it when you don't like the main character. I
would argue that he's not even close to being the main character, not even remotely.
Well, I mean, I guess you could call Chappie the main character, but I mean, especially in the beginning,
But I mean, like, I almost feel like he's like fourth in line in terms of main characters, but that's a whole other.
That's insane. Fourth? Who are the three ahead of him?
I would say that Ninja and Yolandi, for better or worse, are ahead of him. In screen time, I think for sure. If you had to add up screen time, I think that they would be ahead of him.
No, okay. Maybe in screen time. I don't know. I think that he's the.
They also had more of a journey. They had more. They had they had some arcs. Dev Patel not as much. Maybe a slight like scientific arc, but.
He's the thrust behind the robot anyway. He's the creator of the robot. Of Chappie,
but he's not really involved with Chappie for a good half the movie.
I mean, he's involved with the movie though. I mean, it's his anyway. His
okay. So your basic point is right now the big con is Dev Patel. That's what made it right for you.
Look at the two Yolandi and Ninja. I mean, they're very very. Caricature-ish, and that's cool, but you kind of have to like the shtick, and I didn't like the shtick. I mean, it's at that point, do you like this over-the-top character, or do you find it grating and annoying? I found them both to be grating and annoying. So, I mean, it was hard to take.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you there. I mean, one of the big distractions for me with the film was Ninja and Yolandi, because they're playing essentially themselves. Like, I don't know, maybe I don't know if you're aware of it, but Ninja and Yolandi are rap stars from South Africa. Like, that's their actual names. They played people that their actual names, and I knew them because I had friends that actually dressed up as them for Halloween in 2012.
That's cool.
They won the best costume for that, for that particular party. But I mean, it's really distracting, and they were a butt of many jokes for that whole year going forward, because we would watch some of their crazy music videos, and it was it's one thing if they were playing parts, but actually calling them by their names, I found that to be a huge distraction, and they weren't really actors. It didn't diminish from the overall profundity of the film, but that is a major flaw, in my list of cons.
And look, just one more thing. Again, I hate that because I did this last week. There's just one scene can just mar a movie, and Hugh Jackman was involved in a scene that was just unspeakably awful and just dumb. It was I won't go into detail, but it's the scene in the office with the gun. It's just ridiculous.
I'm going to disagree with you about that one as well. I liked that scene.
God, JB, man, that is the wrongest thing you've ever said. Are you really?
Yeah.
You were buying that.
For sure. I bought everything about Hugh Jackman in this movie. He's one of the pros. He's one of the I thought made it really fly. I thought his performance was outstanding. And I mean, I didn't necessarily think he was a bad actor, but I never really counted him among the greats. Like I wouldn't go so far as to say I dismissed him, but I also didn't think of him for things. But in the last 5 years or so, between Les Mis and Prisoners and this, I'm just really impressed, and I really bought every bit of obsession, every bit of desperation, and he was the only real. I agree about Dev Patel. He was not too great. I wouldn't, and I feel more strongly about Yolandi and Ninja, but Hugh Jackman, I think, and also I don't really like Sigourney Weaver in the film performance-wise, but Hugh Jackman I think really makes it for me. J Money, you've been quiet.
It's been fun listening to you guys hash back and forth about this stuff. Let me talk about Yolandi and Ninja. By the way, Ninja's real name is Watkin Tudor Jones, just in case you were wondering first, before I get to some other issues. But they're part of a rap duo called Watkin Tudor Jones.
Deantwort. No, it's Deantwort. I thought they're rap.
Well, Deantwort is the name of the rap group, but Ninja's actual name is Watkin Tudor Jones, which is really just kind of funny in and of itself. But yeah, let me just talk about Deantwort for a sec, because I think that in a lot of ways you guys hit upon a major flaw of this movie, which was a really weird casting choice for them. I've actually seen Deantwort in concert. I'm going to admit that. I saw them as part of a lineup.
But have you dressed up as them for Halloween?
I have not dressed up as them for Halloween. I saw them as part of a lineup in a festival.
I want you to wear Yolandi's gold lame tight pants.
Well,
I want you to show your pubic hair in public. That's for this Halloween.
That's fine. What makes you think I don't already do that, Chappie? Come on, I mean, I gotta get interested in them. I mean, we're talking about them like this, but they are fashion moguls to a certain degree, and they're also respected in certain communities. The problem is that they are so uncommitted to not being anything but their band in this movie, Deantwort, even though ostensibly they're not. There's never one point in this movie where they are supposedly the rap group Deantwort. They just happen to live in a place that is surrounded by all the stuff they've created from their videos. A lot of the artwork is done by a photographer, I think Roger Ballin, who's the one that does all their videos and stuff, and the artwork in the background, which was such a part of this.
That's that you did that research post movie, I presume. So I mean, that.
Well, but not exactly, because I'm actually a fan of their videos in general. I mean, there's qualities to Deantwort I like quite a bit. Their performance in this movie I did not like at all.
I really liked the song at the end of this movie. I thought the song was really strong. That the player.
Well, but the problem with them in this movie was that it was kind of like somebody showing up to a band with a band T-shirt. And by the way, they literally did wear their own freaking band T-shirt in this movie at one point.
I know.
Like Ninja's literally spoke at the end of it, which is the most ridiculous thing. I don't know if you guys read any of the other stuff about on-set shenanigans here, but everybody post this movie has basically said how much they incredibly hated working with him, with Ninja specifically, and how I think Neill Blomkamp said he would never ever want to be in the same room with Ninja again after this project, and it kind of shows. They kind of hijacked this movie in a
But I mean, like, I don't care. That's got to be on Neill Blomkamp.
After I saw this,
that's got to be on Neill Blomkamp. He's responsible.
But they changed.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I know, it's not going well tonight.
Uh-oh. J Money. Davy Joe. What's happening?
Yeah, we lost him. Let me what J Money was getting into there. He's still going though, huh?
He's trying.
Guys.
You back, J Money? No?
I never left on my end. Are you guys there?
Oh yeah, we lost you.
We're here, but we're losing you.
Start that rant over.
We're losing you quite a bit.
Maybe
Ninja's interfering, hijacking our telecast here.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, yes. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Where did I get cut off? I don't know.
The photography. And you were saying everybody hated Ninja.
Yeah.
And then I said it doesn't matter. That's still Neill Blomkamp's responsibility. He's the captain.
It's definitely Neill Blomkamp's responsibility. But at the end of the day, it sounds like Ninja was so unwilling to actually work within the confines of a movie that their performance in general just really sticks out in a weird, cartoonish way. It doesn't really flow with the rest of the movie. Blomkamp is great because he tends to really focus on visceral, gritty scenarios and shooting and action. And there's such a cartoonish, weird aspect in this movie. Where do they fit in? They're clearly not, real gangsters. And even Die Antwoord as a gangster group in South Africa is kind of a corporate gangster group. They're not really about being gangster. They're about being this idea of pomp and swagger, which is picked up by that, by the community. But even so, for them to play actual criminals in this, and for them to play supposedly serious criminals in this, is a really weird miscast.
And not only that, but I mean, it's also very disingenuous when Yolandi gets some sort of a heart or whatever. But I mean, like, in fairness to them, and I don't really have a lot of good things to say about them in particular, but I mean, there's something lacking in the script as well. I feel like it really could have used to understanding what made these people criminals. Like, what was it behind Ninja and Yolandi, the characters, not the rappers, not Die Antwoord, but what was it about these characters that led them to this lifestyle? Why do they owe this guy 20 million, whatever the currency is? All that stuff is, I mean, I know it was a deal gone bad, but there's no effort. And it was the driver for Ninja half the movie to get this money paid, and there was no effort to sort of go into that at all.
Right, and hey, don't you feel like that was indicative of a lot of the storylines in this movie? None of the storylines in this movie really had any depth to them. None of them really had anything that was going beyond just the sort of the.
I bought the storyline. I bought Hugh Jackman's storyline, as I alluded to, and I also the sort of police robot force that goes astray and that sort of political battle. I bought a lot of that as well.
But there wasn't a real devil into it. I mean, Hugh Jackman played an office bully, much like other office bullies in other Blomkamp movies. Oh. He was basically this two-dimensional kind of, hunky.
He was office bully.
It's funny to me that he made. Oh, did you guys lose me again? Are you there?
No, I got you.
I can see you.
I thought it was both brilliant and ridiculous that he carried around a rugby ball the entire time, because I think it was.
It wasn't the entire time. I thought it was a good choice. I thought it was a nice detail.
I thought it was really. I thought it was very heavy-handed. I thought it was funny, but I thought it was very heavy-handed. I mean, I think that. In
what way? I mean, because it's not like he was throwing it at people.
In the way that he was trying to telegraph that he was such a meathead. I mean, here was a guy that was wearing shorts and a polo shirt and a thing was strapped with his badge on and carrying a rugby ball and also a sidearm. He was so playing to such a two-dimensional bully meathead character, which, honestly, I'm going to back up. I'm going to say that I honestly think that his performance was fine. I don't have a problem with him. Yeah. I think that he turned in one of the better performances in this movie, but I also think he had very little to work with.
I mean, I think he turned in the only performance in this movie, quite frankly.
No, I don't think you should shortchange Charlton Copley so much. I mean, I understand that it's really hard to watch.
Well, I mean, I have a hard time. I'm not going to judge Charlton so much because it's a different thing altogether. The voice performances, it's really hard to judge that, because you're not looking at character eyes and.
But it was also motion capture. He was also doing motion capture throughout the entire thing.
Oh, is that right? He
was actually there as a stand-in for the character, so it was him sort of being, which I think everybody's pointing that out with his performance. I think a lot of that really can be due to the animation. There were certain characteristics of the character design which were really effective. For instance, the ears, which sort of telegraph emotion, and like the heavy brow and heavy lip of the robot itself, which also really helps telegraph.
The body language of the robot it was strong. But I mean, that's a common theme. That's a common theme in a lot of these, technology coming alive movies. Is that it's true of Blade Runner. It's true of what's that? 2001, where the technology, the robots seem more expressive than, I wrote a paper on it in college. Robots seem more expressive, or AI seems more expressive than the actual humans.
Well, they have to. They have to emote harder, because it's the same thing with puppetry. They have to design them so that they show really big emotion, because otherwise they have nothing going for them. That's the only way.
I also think it's part of that larger point.
Well, I think that the production design on this was great, but I also think that Blomkamp really is a great, character and production designer. I think that the problem is that he also is really lost in that process, and he doesn't necessarily focus on the story. The story in this movie really lacked.
And yet, the reason and yet at the end, I was moved, and I felt it was powerful because what great sci-fi does is it sort of reflects on modern issues, and District 9 and Elysium both did that. District 9 successfully, although like the whole idea of racism and things like that and prejudice, that's something that's dealt with frequently in different ways, and same thing with the idea of class systems in Elysium. But this film tackled lots of different things, and you alluded to this, but I mean, in a way that I haven't seen before, in a way that really affected me, and that's why I feel like it's a success. And for all the flaws that it has, and we've been talking strictly about the flaws, the overall message, about human nature, the nature of violence, and also this idea of heredity versus environment, those were all thoughts on the undercurrent of these movies, in this movie, that was, and the results were, it's not like it was new information, but it was presented in a way that it really affected me.
Well, that's the problem I have with it, though.
Good way. What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was done.
I was going to say that's my problem with it. It's the fact that you're right. There are a lot of undercurrents of a lot of different conversations going on here. If I said Chappie is a movie about blank, how would you fill in that blank? You could say that this is a movie about artificial intelligence. You could say that this is a movie about nature versus nurture.
I think it was about. I think it's about.
Wait.
The violence of human nature is what I think it was.
This is about nature versus nurture. You could say this about the nature of human consciousness in general. You could say that this is a movie about the dangers of having an autonomous police state. You could say that this is a movie about.
I think that police state thing and I think the AI thing were there, but they were not the priority. I think the priority was.
I don't feel like there was a priority. I think that might be.
I disagree. I disagree completely. And one flaw of the movie, and I think in my opening statement I said it takes a while to get there. Suddenly it dawned on me. It was like an epiphany. It was like right around the time when they were shooting the bottles. I don't want to give too much away, but he was shooting him.
Yeah.
And at that point,
you can say that it
dawned on me what the film was. Hold on, let me finish. It sort of dawned on me what this film was, and looking at it through that lens from the rest of the film changed my perspective of the whole film. I was really not enjoying it up until that point. I was just really sloppy. And then all of a sudden I realized where it was going, and through a different lens, everything seemed stronger and better, and everything was moving towards this goal. So in that sense, I don't think, based on the way I assumed or what I figured out, for me, what the point of the film was, once I did that, the rest of the ride was really good for me. So
what are you saying the point of the film was?
I mean, I think it's about the human, the nature of violence, and how it comes from the home. It's a product of the nature of violence in our culture is based on your environment, and I think that's the point of it. It would have been nice to. I only wish you got a sense why the rappers had this sense of violence, where they got it from. I wish that was a part of it, but yeah, I think that's what I took away from the film. It's not new information. It's presented in a way that I'd never seen before. It felt original.
I really don't know why you focus in on that. I definitely see that as one of the things that he's discussing, like a lot of other things he's discussing. I don't feel like he actually takes the time.
Look at the. It didn't occur to me. It didn't occur to me in advance, and I'm going to pull up another photo here, a photo I'd already pulled up, but even look at the key art for the film, with the way that Chappie is spelled out on the main poster. Do you remember how it's spelled out?
Yeah, I totally remember how it's spelled out, but I don't think that was. You know what? If anything, that was a nod towards D'Onford because they used D'Onford's colors and they're kind of a symbology.
No, it was children's blocks.
No, I understand what you're saying, JJ. I understand that he was trying to draw a connection between the childlike nature of wonder of human nature and where it goes because of whatever adversities against it. But I don't think that was ultimately what this movie was discussing. This movie was discussing a lot of different things all at the same time. I don't really feel like it had a focus. I also feel like that he was using all these different ideas for other things. I mean, I think that we've all joked about comparing this movie to a lot of other movies. We've all joked about comparing this movie to like RoboCop is the obvious one, or Short Circuit. There's also Frankenstein. There's also Blade Runner. There's also Three Men and a Baby. There's also his other two movies, which he's already made. I mean, there's a lot of things in this movie that are happening that have already been kind of created by the people and also talked about much more in depth by these other movies.
Can you guys see the photo that I put up?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think there's something to what the letters on their shirt spell out?
NYC?
I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of hidden message there about the violence of Manhattan.
It's so safe. What are you talking about?
I think we should wrap it up soon, but I do want to make the point that I disagree. But I disagree with this main point that I agree that there was a lot of stuff going on in the film, which I like that it was so rich in that regard. Lots of different flaws from a dramaturgical and a performance point of view, but I do think that it did have this main focus. I do think that the old adage of "you've got to be carefully taught" type thing, which is a song from South Pacific about racism. I think that was the primary focus, and the rest of it, AI and all those other things, were part of it, and almost a red herring in a way, because I had that anticipation. I thought it was going to be, a fear of technology movie, but I found it really wasn't, and it wasn't necessarily about that for me. So I do think it had a focus, and in that being its focus, I think it achieved its goal.
I have a final question for Davy Joe, because it's really only relevant for him at this point, knowing how you feel about this movie.
Yeah.
Davy Joe, you there?
I'm here. What's up?
Davy Joe, do you think Blomkamp is the new M. Night Shyamalan?
Oh, wow, that's a good question.
I'm offended by your pronunciation of the name.
I don't know how to say his name. Is he the new M. Night? Can I just say that?
Yes, that's probably the better.
And can I just point out that New Year's Eve, 2004 going to 2005. You know where I'm going with this, J Money. We had a huge argument on a New Year's Eve party, and I think David Joe, you were there too because you had to go rescue that girl at a bar.
That was a Halloween party, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Halloween, right.
Story we should tell sometime.
No, because J Money wasn't dressed up, so the argument I think was New Year's. But regardless, the New Year's Eve party, he tried to tell me Shyamalan was better than Spielberg, and he argued it over and over again. And here we are, 10 years later, almost exactly 10 years later. And can you now, eat humble pie?
Well, let me put it this way: it's been 10 years. I honestly believe that M. Night could have made better movies, but he chose not to. He made terrible, retracts of what he already made, which is the same thing that Blomkamp is unfortunately falling into at this point.
Wow.
I still think
Are you guys scared about the new Alien in that regard?
I'm much more concerned about it now after seeing this movie.
I have to rewatch District 9, and I remember being impressed with it, but I don't remember having this sort of impact that Chappie did. So right now, I'm gonna try and go back and rewatch it. But I might say that Chappie is a stronger film on the whole.
No.
Oh
That's
my
ridiculous.
God.
That's ridiculous, JB. Are you fucking kidding me? Come on.
Let's watch the language. But no, I'm not kidding you. I mean, that's the way I feel at this point in time. I listen. My disclaimer is I need to rewatch it. I've not seen it since February 2010. But I definitely remember feeling like it was pretty good. I remember, but I feel stronger about Chappie just in terms of my initial reaction.
Wow.
a big fan of rapping robots in general. Maybe you just like watching robots getting caught.
I mean, I just think the message of the film, as far as sci-fi films go, is original in that regard. Like it didn't go that same route that a lot of the films do. Like, and all the comparisons to RoboCop and Short Circuit. I made the comparison to Short Circuit myself last week. All those comparisons to go by the wayside because it went into a whole different direction that was unexpected and interesting and overcame. Sure, Frankenstein. Maybe I'll give you Frankenstein, but that's not. It's not really considered sci-fi.
All science fiction. I mean, come on. It's a basic premise.
Yeah. I mean, like, regardless, but I mean, like, I don't think Frankenstein went into as much detail with the nature versus nurture or the danger that parents could, or whoever's raising children could become.
Oh, man. Somebody should do Frankenstein in the Hood. Somebody should really do that. That should definitely be a thing.
Well, anyway, so David Joe, you had something you wanted to ask. Is that related to Chappie?
Right. So, you touched upon this earlier about Blomkamp's responsibility to rein in Yolandi and Ninja, and I have another question.
I also think he needs to do a better job with Sigourney Weaver, who's someone obviously who's a really talented actor, but she didn't seem to have been given a lot. Neither in terms of the script or just character direction. I mean, I think she liked him enough to work with him again on Alien. But yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. All right, so all right, I understand as a director, and this is perfect for you because you've of course directed feature films. I understand that every second counts and time is money, and there's a delicate balance there that you have to be constantly thinking about. But some of the scenes, some of the lines from Dev Patel are so bad. When as director are you not doing your job to say, hey, cut, let's do that again, do that? I mean, I just feel like he really kind of hung this kid out to dry. Like it just.
But I mean, I think with the exception of Hugh Jackman and Charlton Copley's work in all his films, he hasn't really gotten much from even Jodie Foster and William Fichtner and Matt Damon in Elysium. They didn't seem like they had a lot of information, and they seemed to be just doing their best. So. I mean, your question is sort of broad. I mean, when are you not doing your job? Yeah, if the performance is not there. I mean, what I think the larger question is, and it might be, I don't know if it's a language issue, but a culture issue. Like, I think the larger question is Neill Blomkamp's ability to process performance. Sitting behind the monitor, and what is he looking at? And maybe he's not looking at the nuanced performance as closely as looking at the set design or the way how the special effects are going to come together. Does that answer the question?
No, it does. It totally answers the question, and I feel bad for them.
It's interesting because I'm so attuned to performance normally. That's something that is a sticking point for me, and I can't really defend many of the performances in this film except for Hugh Jackman. And I mean, like, I don't want to give you guys the impression that this film's going to be on my top 10 list at the end of the year. I mean, maybe if it's a really, really bad year, but it's definitely a net positive. But I mean, I'm surprised that I acknowledge your issues with the performance. I had written them down myself as part of my cons, and I don't want to say offended by Yolandi and Ninja, but they were distraction. With that in mind, I'm surprised that it says a lot about the message of the film and how original it felt to me that that the performances didn't bother me enough to make it a net negative, and instead just what the film was saying and where it stands in the sci-fi world, I thought was enough to it had an impact. Like, it really had me feeling and thinking.
All right.
So
I'll put it. I'll give you this. It was better than Boyhood.
Oh, wow! Throwing the hat in the ring.
The moose alone made him say that. No, I mean, I'm not going to say it's better than Boyhood ever, but it's
man.
My expectations were low too. So I mean, like, in fairness, like, maybe my expectations being exceeded is making me feel a little more happy about it today. But I will say I think it was better than Focus.
Okay.
I will join you in that. I will say that I think it is better than Focus.
I will not. I will not.
Okay. All right. So there you go. But you guys might acknowledge that both these both weeks it looks like I've liked the movie the most each time.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was going to be my job, but this is kind of cool.
Marginal thumbs up for Focus, a little more of a thumbs up for
JB likes everything. What can you say?
Chappie. What's that?
JB likes everything.
I am the yin to your yang, J Money. So, Money, I don't know where you fit in that, Davy Joe. But J Money, we're going to move on to our indie spotlight, and J Money has our indie spotlight today. So, J Money, why don't you introduce your indie spotlight?
Yeah, I would say that, let's see, I want to talk about The One I Love, a movie that came out in 2014. I can't remember the director, unfortunately, at this point, starring Mark Duplass and Elizabeth Moss as these two people that are in a marriage that is clearly not working too well, and they go away on a vacation retreat to a beautiful little villa in the middle of nowhere to try to rekindle their relationship and find themselves. And with a touch of magical realism, some strange events happen that sort of have them questioning their very existence in a very relatively amusing way. It's a soft yes for me, as I was telling you before. It's a sweet little movie. I think that it has sweet. It has some light comic touches. I don't feel like it was. I think it's the kind of thing where you smile.
The light comic touches has nothing to do with the script or the direction. The light comic touches is all Mark Duplass. But go ahead.
You don't think Elizabeth Moss was part of this as well? You don't think both of them had some good comic timing in this situation?
No, but in fairness, I have a personal bias towards Elizabeth Moss that I don't want to get into.
JB, to be fair, I did forget that you're a misogynist, so I do take it back. I'm sorry that you know.
Jeez.
No, when I say personal bias, I'm like, I've had interactions with her in the past.
Oh wow! So this is what's so great about Hollywood is that you cannot divorce yourself from the actual reality of dealing with these people. That's fine.
It was back in New York, but that's beside the point.
Can we get her on the show too, man? Is that possible?
What's that?
I never want to be in the same room with her again, let alone.
No, we're not in the same room.
Oh, I see. Yeah, fair. No, I do not want her on the show. Hey, Money, go ahead.
Regardless, I would say that it's a nice light romp into sort of into magical realism. Ultimately, I don't want to give anything away, but there is kind of a neat gimmick that happens with them finding themselves, so to speak, and it's sort of fun to watch it play out in what would appear to be relatively disastrous ways, but are ultimately just kind of lightly creepy and lightly funny. I think that both of them bring an awkwardness to the relationship that feels incredibly authentic, frankly, whether or not because they are, authentically awkward around each other, or because they just understand the idea of a failing relationship very, very thoroughly. And I think that it's a very, it's a light read. It's kind of like a bottle episode with only two characters, even though there's more than two characters in the movie. It's kind of interesting to watch them play.
Well, there's also Ted Danson. But yeah.
And there's also Ted Danson. That's true. Thank you for reminding me that Ted Danson's in this, because Ted Danson, frankly, has done nothing wrong in the last 5 years, as far as I'm concerned. I love seeing Ted Danson show up anywhere at this point. Minx. He knows exactly what he wants to be at this point, and he is doing it with such aplomb and confidence that he's always fun to watch. And I think that it's a rental. Is ultimately what I'd say. I mean, it is at this point for anyone, literally. But I think that this is the kind of movie that you can sit down on a Sunday afternoon and just enjoy without really thinking too much about it.
Dave, have you seen it before I opine?
I have not.
I will say that overall I enjoyed seeing it. I think I found it really interesting, and I will say it constantly surprised me. I do think that I do feel like it sort of like out-gimmicked itself. At some point it sort of got too it was too many twists and turns for its own good. To really, because I would have liked a little more depth, and instead it was more interested in its plot turns and its twists and trying to outwit the viewer. Instead of like actually trying to get underneath this marriage, and copping out in a way, in a predictable way. That's the only thing I did predict, and is the very end, and I was disappointed in that.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is that there was never really a point where I thought that they were taking me on a twist and turn. I thought that it was fairly clear where it was going to go, even if I didn't necessarily know exactly how it was going to end. Even if I didn't know the resolution, I kind of got a strong sense early on of what it was trying to do, just as a movie in general. And I agree with you. They don't really ever build the conflict between the two of them, but I think that's not what the movie's about. The movie's about watching two people kind of drift apart, and also watching a relationship that has clearly suffered through the usual.
If you're going to make a movie about two people drift apart, then I want some details about what's making them drift apart, and I want to understand them better as people instead of.
Well, I don't know if you have to really explain that.
I wanted to have a little better understanding of what actually, they sort of were awfully vague about what was actually going on. Well, and if you're going to be vague about what's actually going on, then you need to be more vague. Then don't give me any information.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that you could kind of pick up some cues about both of their general sort of self-centeredness based on the little things that they were doing. I mean, I don't know how you feel about each of the characters.
We're all self-centered, except for Davy Joe. We're all self-centered, so that's not.
Well, yeah, but both of them are a little frumpy, right? I mean, like Mark Duplass. Mark Duplass is physically a character that's built to be just this dumpy middle-aged dude. He just telegraphs sort of sad sack from a distance, and it's kind of apparent. And it was
liked him a lot. I liked him a lot.
I liked him a lot too. I think it was fantastic.
I'm sort of annoyed with him because he's I feel like I enjoy everything he does, and he's sort of like my contemporary in some regards. So I like him, and I'm annoyed at myself for liking him because I'm a little jealous.
Fair. That's fair. I think that Mark Duplass loves to play sort of mildly douchey characters, but I also think that in this movie he got to play something that was also different than that in one aspect of it, and it was great to watch him. He
felt real, and he was the main thrust of the movie for me. But for all my argument, I'm sort of with you in some regard, in the sense that I did recommend it to somebody. In fact, I own the film from the screening process, and I lent it out to a friend. I'm probably not supposed to say that, but the voting process is over, so I lent it out to a friend. I said, you know what, watch this. And not because I'm not like, you must watch this, it's so good. Watch this, it's interesting, is what I said. So I guess I'm a soft yes as well.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Watch it, it's interesting. It's it's a little bit different than your average sort of, I guess you could even say it's kind of a rom-com. I mean, technically.
I know I guess my main complaint, and I talk about this all the time, screen time is valuable. It could have been better.
It could have been better. I absolutely agree.
I think they left some stuff on the field, and that is not good enough.
It was a soft pitch. It was a very soft movie.
David, Joe, have you seen any of the previous? We had a couple indie spotlights over the last couple weeks. I know you watched Blue Ruin. What was last week's? Little Accident.
Little Accidents. I have not seen Little Accident. I have it ready to go though.
What do you mean ready to go? What do you mean ready to go?
I bought it.
Oh wow.
Really, officially?
Yeah.
Did he buy it or not? All right, it's time for a classic movie of the week, and J Money figured it out when he saw what's behind me. But can you tell what that is, Davy Joe?
No.
No. I'm only going to put the initial title down. On Saturday here in Los Angeles, we screened Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Have you guys seen the film?
Oh yes.
What do you guys remember about it?
Davy Joe.
I mean, it's been a long time. I remember it being amazing. I loved it. I might have been 20 years ago that I saw it as a teenager in high school, but.
Don't pretend like you were a teenager 20 years ago. I'm on to you.
I really was.
Okay. J Money?
I remember it being I've seen it a couple times at this point, and probably the last time I saw it was maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. I remember it as being a really bitingly funny movie. It's a movie that has a lot of satire and a lot of comedy in and of itself, but it also has a lot of teeth. I mean, there were some really painful scenes to watch because they're just so accurate to the jumble of dealing with warfare and also dealing with the sort of an industrial military complex and also dealing with the threat of nuclear annihilation. And there's so many things that are honestly heartfelt while being funny that it's a great mixture of fear and hilarity. I think it really drives home the point of there being no reason for that kind of fear in people.
I definitely with you on that. I mean, when I introduce the film, because I don't tell people what they're going to watch I just give them some facts, some very vague facts to set it up. And what I said is, it's a film that when I first saw it, and I saw it later than I had seen a lot of Kubrick's. Sometimes things just slip through the cracks. So I first saw Bryant Park actually, 15 years ago. But
Wow.
But it was a movie that I was extremely impressed with, but ultimately left me cold. And as it turns out, like that's sort of how the whole group felt, the screening group. And they sort of said what you said, J Money, about it. I mean, it's some scenes are so funny and sharp, and in its own way, a little scary. But what you said that me and the group seem to disagree with, if I can speak for them, is that it is a lack of heart. And certainly from Dr. Strangelove on, when Kubrick starts not working in Hollywood as much, there's a certain emotional detachment to his films that are part of his trademark, quite frankly. And I think that starts here with Dr. Strangelove, because there's a little bit of it. His previous film is Lolita, which is like somewhat social satire, but
okay, but I guess I feel like Peter Sellers' performance sort of overcomes that to some degree. I honestly believe that Peter Sellers himself was so emotionally invested in this character, and it kind of comes through one way or the other. I mean, I think
which character are you talking about?
Dr. Strangelove? Isn't Peter Sellers Strangelove? Am I screwing this up entirely?
He's 3 roles in the film.
Well, true, yeah, but I mean, I just want to make sure that I got his name.
Very good.
He is Dr. Strangelove, but he's also the president and Mandrake.
And I'm sorry, the third character you're talking about, the one that actually is kind of the sympathetic character that you're walking around with as basically the audience himself, right? He is kind of as a surrogate, as the rational human being that's walking around saying, like, this is all insane, what are we going to do about this? I think that there's such a touching quality to his performance in that I don't think that there's a disconnect.
I don't see that. In fact, the performance that we really reacted,
the way that he is so sadly...
What we see in Peter Sellers in the film is a lot of shtick, especially as Dr. Strangelove, quite frankly. And even in playing the president, he's sort of like channeling. He's like almost an imitation of Adlai Stevenson.
Yes.
So
those two characters are definitely outlandish cartoon characters. But the third person we're talking about, what was the third person's name?
Mandrake. But he's even sort of like this British stiff upper lip type guy.
But he is the basic thrust of all drives my rationality.
Is playing a foil to.
No, I disagree. I don't think he's just a foil. I understand what you're saying about that idea, but I don't think he's just.
It's only a small portion of the film that's Mandrake and Hayden together.
I think the scene with him and the other general, the American general that goes insane and insists that there's communism in the water. I believe that was the plot line.
Bodily fluids, precious bodily.
I think there's something so touching about the way that he is interacting with that character, and also the way that resolves itself. That I honestly think that. As much as you're saying he is playing a British stereotype, he's also infusing the character with what is ostensibly kind of a rationality that we're all supposed to feel watching this movie. We're all supposed to say this is absolute ridiculousness.
Obviously, yes.
That is the character we're supposed to associate with.
I don't feel the touching part of it. I don't think there.
I totally disagree with you.
I think he's trying to outwit the general through subterfuge when he's dealing with him. I think he's trying to get him to give him the codes. But I don't.
You gotta go back and watch him. Go back and watch him. I disagree. Okay,
well, I mean, I can't believe that we're disagreeing, though. That's insane. Davey Joe, do you before I set up you good?
No, I'm fine. It's been too long for me to speak intelligently.
So, part of the fun about screening Dr. Strangelove yesterday in our brackets that we do is it went up in 2 different brackets. It was in the 60s bracket where it defeated Rosemary's Baby in a fairly close vote.
Yeah.
But it was also in the. Was that J Money?
That's a tough call.
Yeah, I would have. I don't vote, but I would have voted for Rosemary's Baby. And again, I'm arguing against Dr. Strangelove. It's really impressive and potentially the best satire ever, most complete satire ever. But I still don't have that emotional thing that I talk about a lot, and so it's hard to say it's one of my favorite movies. It's just impressive to me. It's impressive and sharp, but I don't love it. And I guess that's the point. Whereas Rosemary's Baby seems like a more complete movie to me. But everyone here seemed to get behind Dr. Strangelove in that regard. But interestingly, on the AFI bracket, and I hope you guys have seen this film. If not, maybe for next time. It lost. It lost in the AFI bracket to Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yes. Sure.
Which is interesting, and it was the heart that made the difference. You know, it was the level of emotion.
Yeah, but Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is like literally a beating heart.
Money, I need to see proof that you have a heart before you can make any argument.
I can rip it out of my chest right now. I'll go get a knife.
Have you seen Mr. Smith, Davy Joe?
Yes, yes.
All right, so opine.
I mean, it's a great movie. Of course, it's a performance movie. I think. I mean, everything about it's amazing. The script's amazing. Again, it's been a long time. You gotta give it tip me off beforehand. Maybe I'll try and see one of these ahead of time. But
what's the fun in that? He's throwing you a curveball.
Fair enough.
So okay. All right, guys. I think are you guys good? We're gonna move on.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Hopefully, we're gonna get under an hour. Next up is next week's film. So I'm here to announce that we are going to be back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Did we agree on the time? Same time is good for everybody?
That's fine for me. Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to protest this film, but it looks like next week we're going to see Run All Night. And I don't know exactly how I feel about that, but we're going to see it and we're going to talk about it. And hey, I had low expectations for Chappie, so who knows?
Davey, why do you have less expectation for Run All Night than anything else we've talked about so far?
I do feel like I have this. I am tiring of the Liam Neeson action hero stuff.
That's
Sure.
insanity. That's insanity.
What?
That's insanity.
Joe, I can't hear you. Really?
That's crazy.
There's been one good film, Taken. That's the only good one.
I didn't even like Taken. I didn't like Taken.
You didn't
So,
like Taken?
Are there any that you've liked?
I like Taken 2, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I liked it more.
Wow.
I did not. I mean, what I'll say about Taken is if you take out or let me have directed the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes, any of those minutes that tried to be like human and failed,
Yeah.
but the rest of the movie was action-packed, smart, slick, real effective, and in a way that I hadn't seen in a while when I saw it. This is like, what, 2009 Taken came out, I think.
It's been a while now. Yeah.
But is there any of these new Liam Neeson as action star movies that you've liked, J Money, aside from Taken 2?
Oh, I don't think I've actually seen a lot of his stuff. I still have yet to see The Gray. I caught part of that one where he's on a plane, which was kind of pathetic.
Non-stop.
What's that?
Non-stop. So, Dave Joseph, you're a Liam Neeson action hero fan?
Yeah, but I haven't seen them all either.
Don't back down. Don't be shy.
Have you seen the Liam Neeson kill map?
No.
What?
Oh, you gotta Google that. Google
Okay.
that. It's pretty awesome. You'll like it. Did you
Will I?
Walk Amongst the Tombstones? Did you like that?
No,
You like that, right?
I brought up Walk Amongst the Tombstones. I don't think
Yeah.
it's a good film, but I liked Boyd Holbrook's performance. That's why I brought it up last week.
Well, see, now with Run All Night, I'm really interested in his co-star's performance as well. To me, that might be the thing.
Joel Kinnaman.
Who?
Which one? Who's co-star? Ed Harris or Joel Kinnaman?
Ed Harris.
Yeah, I mean, I worry. It's an expectation, but my worry is this is a paycheck movie for Ed Harris. But
Sure.
what do I know? All right, so I want to take this moment to congratulate the North Florida Ospreys, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, the Northern Iowa Panthers, and the three-point shooting Belmont Bruins for punching their ticket to the NCAA tournament. March Madness is upon us. We got 3 more teams that will punch their ticket today. Davy Joe, you're the basketball man. Do you have any thoughts?
I'm a Syracuse fan, so I didn't watch any basketball this year.
Okay, J Money.
Oh my God, you guys are jocks. Okay, you don't belong in Hollywood. Get the hell out. What are you talking about?
Never been accused of that before, but that's cool.
What's that?
I'd never been accused of that before.
Yeah, I'm very excited. As soon as we hang up here, I have some games that are taping right now. Manhattan versus Iona And 10th seeded Furman is taking on Wofford from South Carolina. So that's and the winners of those games will both advance to the tournament. So I'm excited about that. Good luck to those schools and the kids there. And I urge all you kids to watch Dr. Strangelove and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. All right, closing thoughts. Anything you guys want to say goodbye? Jay Money, you go first.
I would say that everybody should probably check out Chappie one way or the other. I thought it was interesting that it did knock our movie from last week out of the top one. It made I think $13.3 million this year, which was 55% down from Elysium's opening, by the way. So Neill Blomkamp is definitely struggling against that point of view. But I still have faith, even though I was underwhelmed by this movie. I still want this guy to win. I still want this to be, I still want him to be better. And I think he might be. We'll just have to wait and see.
It all depends. I can't remember if it was with you guys or another group that I was talking with about, directors that have these initial successes, their second and third films. I often reference Apatow and, quite frankly, Quentin Tarantino to some degree.
Sure.
That once they get big enough, and Shyamalan would be another great example, quite frankly.
Exactly. That's right at the point right now. He's right on the verge of.
It gets to that where no one can really tell them no, and they're either afraid to, and sometimes they can control it, sometimes they can't. And what I wish for all these guys is a sense of humility and to be able to say, you know what, I can't figure this out. I need some help. I need to ask somebody about this choice. Need someone. Neill Blomkamp says, you know what, I might need an acting coach. I need someone to help me direct these actors.
I absolutely agree. I think that he should probably dump his wife as a writing partner first off. That might be one of the things. But it's worth noting that the budget for this movie was $49 million, so he will definitely make it back. Like, that will definitely be a profit on this film, which means that he will probably continue to be
but you're not understanding the way financing works in films, because the production budget is $13 million. You have to the P&A is probably 3 times that alone, so that brings it up to $52 million. And every market it goes into, that's additional P&A.
Yeah, but regardless, he's going to make a profit. Honestly, if you said that the ultimate P&A on this thing was like $78 million, he's still going to make more than that.
I don't think it will happen until almost all films, quite frankly, like 95% of films don't make any profit until ancillary markets like video and Netflix and so forth.
But does that not count? Does that profit not count?
No, it sure counts. But I think the suggestion that you're making is that he's going to make a profit in theatrical, and I don't think that's the case. I furthermore say that the initial goodwill and good feeling that Hollywood has, and you can feel it as a town here. People. This is like DC in the with politics. Like, everybody works in the industry, so you can feel the town sort of depressed. The last 2 weeks to have #1 films both under $20 million is even in March is a concern. And people were riding high with 50 Shades about a month ago, or less than a month ago, 3 weeks ago. People were like, thrilled, this year's going to be huge, and now everyone's praying the Avengers doesn't bomb. Everyone's relying on the Avengers to sort of bring this down, but these are the last 2 weeks have been low totals, and there's a general feeling of concern. It's probably too early to be concerned about anything, but people in this town react, every little thing,
Sure.
like the stock market. Davey Joe, closing thoughts.
I'll echo something that Jay Money said. I think I'm not giving up on Blomkamp yet. The last 20 minutes of this movie were a lot of fun.
But that's just from an action point of view. That's not.
That is absolutely correct. That is just from an action point of view.
Especially if he's going to make Alien, he needs to upgrade those other elements of his resume.
Well,
can I step in one more second there? I will say the last few minutes of this movie to me were the most interesting conceptually. And if he had actually started at that point, I would have been much more interested in this movie.
And I'm going to assume people didn't see this movie, so I'm not giving it away. This sort of transcendence storyline. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree, and it would mean a lot more to me if Yolandi wasn't involved.
Well, I wonder if he was trying to set up some sort of sequel, or if that was just kind of whatever,
Same thing. Yeah, same thing about Yolandi.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it for now. We are at 59. Weren't we at 59 minutes last week? Wasn't that the same exact amount?
Very nice. Very nice.
So we're exactly 59 minutes. So we are consistent at the very least. Farewell, and till next week, everybody. No viewers so far, but Keep on keeping on. Good night, guys.
See you later.